Yeah, sure. Yeah. Come back. I know she's, yeah, I know. What? You're fine.
No. We just introduced Ms. Sawdell, kindergarten, first grade from computer, so maybe we'll take one little picture, stand the other, we can take a picture real quick.
Okay.
You want to stand right there? Take a picture of you with your kids.
Okay.
Everyone looking right here.
Picture time.
1, 2, 3. Let's take one more.
Look over here.
1, 2, 3. Perfect.
She has the foot on the cable, which is very smart, so it's a good idea. So this should be okay. Good job, everybody. Wow. Great job.
That staying a little longer can join our class. Hi, Bill. Let's want to go in the bus.
Hey, thank you, Hoover family. That was fantastic. Thanks for going out. All right, moving on to roll call. For people's document. Very dramatic pause there. Trustee Duty here. Trustee Jay. Trustee Brown. Here. I am Trustee Boy, I'm present. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. I'll have you have a chance to review the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Katie. Is there a second? Thank you, Nicole, for a second. All those in favor? Aye. As well, the motion passes 5-0. We'll move on to item 9, public statements related to agenda items. Are there any public statements related to agenda items?
No, there's not, President.
Okay. Item 10, union statement from the Burlingame Education Association, continuing our Hooper theme.
Gonna sing?
Do you want me to go to the mic?
Yes, please, if you could go to the table, please, and use the microphone and for the camera and the mic to set up. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello, my name is Alyssa Curry Gallanetti, and I teach kindergarten and first grade at Hoover. I am here on behalf of BDA to provide an update. Negotiations began yesterday, and the negotiations team is looking forward to working closely with the district in order to come to a joint agreement in the areas of salary, benefit, and class size. As a Franklin, BIS, and VHS graduate myself, I know firsthand how lucky students are to attend school in this district, and to have the wonderful staff members as their classroom and specialist teachers. I know retaining and attracting quality teachers relies heavily on outcomes-based. Additionally, staff members enjoy kicking off 2025 with a day of professional development. Some staff members reported it was the best PD day we've ever had. It was meaningful to learn from the expertise of some of the wonderful staff members within our district. The VAPA session was definitely a highlight. Staff members also engaged in work with counting collections, sessions on AI, education to invigorate, as well as de-escalation training. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to item 11, union statement from the PSA, also Hoover, Tiffany Secret. Oh, no. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, then we'll move on. Item 12, statement of principal, from Hoover again, Prasta, who's Michigan, he was not at the table.
Yeah.
As members of the board, we haven't had the chance to meet yet on the Prasta. I'm the proud principal of Hoover School. And I just want to give a shout out to our kindergarten and first grade students tonight. I wanted to go ahead and share an update on behalf of our entire principal team. With starting off at looking back in the summer. And actually, after those incredible musical concerts and winter concerts, we had the second session of our Supporting Inclusive Practices Academy on December 19th. And we have staff representation from every site. Our site-based academy team members are now planning next steps with their school team to deepen our collective commitment to inclusion. On January 6th, as Ms. Gallanetti shared, we launched 2025 with a robust professional development day. She shared how we had some amazing sessions. I also wanted to give out a shout out to Assistant Principal Zach Hansel from BIS, who introduced teachers to innovative AI tools they can integrate into their instruction. A shout out to Aaron Kerr and Christy Lindeman from our VAPA team for their makerspace challenges. Our TK through second grade teachers continued their series of counting collections mathematics PD with a facilitator from Lawrence Paul Science, focusing on this effective approach to early learning. As she shared, all elementary principals and many elementary specialists, such as our speech pathologists, resource teachers, etc., participated in a full day safety care training to learn evidence-based strategies for prevention and interventions to support student safety. And this safety care training was skillfully led by our very own BSD employees and safety care trainers, Dana Lee and Melissa Hughes. Our BIS speaker, Brandon Dongo from Educate to Invigorate, and she shared really applicable strategies to enhance middle schoolers' learning experiences. Today, our elementary teachers continued our district-wide collaboration with our elementary grade level meetings. We met today at Lincoln, and teachers across the district worked in their elementary grade school teams to look at priority mathematics standards in an articulation effort. At this time of year, January is absolutely my favorite time of year because there's really a renewed focus on teaching and teachers are preparing for district-wide student benchmark assessments in reading, writing, and math. which will take place at the end of the month. Elementary parent-teacher conferences are also on the horizon, starting in early February. We're especially excited about the focus on reading with the upcoming BCE Readathon, which is January 27th through the 31st. And this year's event will feature special evenings for fun reading at Maverick Job with the students. They'll have creative classroom displays with trees and participation leaves, and even videos of staff members reading aloud that parents and families can see at home to encourage reading and songwriting. And to add a fresh touch, BCE unveiled new yard sign with a new logo, has a tree and some hearts to highlight this year's theme, read, songwrite. Enrollment for 2025-26 is just around the corner, beginning on February 3rd. And in lieu of our site-based principal-led information meetings for enrollment, I'm excited to share that our principals and our district leaders decided to collectively host the district-wide TKK New Family Information Meeting the end of January. Date and time to be determined. But this united approach will allow us to have all the principals present at the same time and to provide families with key information about our TKK program. We will have our site-based kindergarten, new family orientations and netting at the schools once families have learning. At this time of the year, we're also planning for the transition of our fifth graders to BIS. And there's some key events that Principal Greg Land is organizing, such as an informational meeting for incoming sixth grade families at BIS on January 23rd at 6:30. On February 6th and 7th, all of our fifth graders at the elementary schools will come to BIS to have student-led tours. And our fifth grade parent chaperone drivers are invited to join these tours and experience BIS alongside the students. Principal Greg Land will also be coming out as an outreach effort to each of our PTAs and our meetings at each school with BIS students to share the great news about this school from both the principal and the student. So as you can see, 2025 is off to a strong start. We fully hit the ground running. We're embracing collaboration, professional learning, and inclusion for the school year, while we're also working together and collaboratively to thoughtfully prepare for. All right. Thank you for your time this evening and for your continued support of our schools and our students.
Thank you very much, Principal Basket. We'll move on to item 13, statement of the superintendent, Dr. Marla Silversmith.
Okay, Ellen hit the majority of mine.
Perfect.
Be proud wearer of some dirty shoes, a brand new tie-dye shirt, and I was named Slugger today because I kissed a banana slug outdoor ed. Lincoln fifth grade teachers invited me to go up to San Mateo County Offices of Ed's outdoor ed camp. They went up yesterday and they're there through Friday. It's the first time in the 7 years I've worked in Burlingame that I've been up there. It's amazing. Principal Jay invited the 5 of you to come up. We can't go with your children. Yeah. So, but I saw beautiful redwoods. I saw kids that are shy and sitting in the back of the class and dancing and singing and jumping around. I learned about fungi, bacteria, and it was just gardening, people picking up chickens, playing in compost. It was amazing. It was great. So don't be surprised when you see a picture of the superintendent kissing a banana slug come out in San Mateo newsletter that Nancy sends out. But it was great. I can't say enough about the naturalists there, their backgrounds, their enthusiasm to get multiple kids just interacting with each other on the second day. The cabins were clean except for some of those girls' cabins. We get cabin checks. But the kids were talking about the food and how exciting it was. They were excited for the night hike and the ocean day tomorrow. But I just really wanted to come back and thank the 5 of you for making sure that that happens in our district. I know not every student gets an opportunity to go to an outdoor camp and experience that natural environment, and it's very cool. It's great to see our kids learning, and I can't wait to hear their stories when they come home. Very still pleased. It was pretty awesome to see the teachers and the kids that's out there. So thank you for making sure that that happens, but thank you to our parents for making sure that happens. Also, a shout out to Miss Donnell's class. Wow, that was great. It's wonderful to see that.
Right. Next.
It's so great to see something besides the pledge, and a huge shout out to BCE because our foundation makes sure that our kids have music in the classroom starting in TK by a credentialed music specialist, and that's so important. We couldn't do it without their, $2.8 million donation, and they're striving for $3 million this year, and we really couldn't do it without that. So it's just so important, and I mean, here they are, one trimester into school, almost, what are we at? Almost 90 days. You guys count 6. How many days?
87?
87, okay, 87 days in, and what performer, so thank you for doing that, that means a lot, so I really appreciate the outcome. Super Hawks do that, like, thank you, it's awesome, so, anyway, thank you.
Right, item 14 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a way to consolidate many items considered by the board to be routine business. These items often require approval, but do not need discussion. All trustees have reviewed the items in advance of the board meeting. Members of the board, staff, or public are able to request specific items to be discussed and removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. The superintendent and staff recommend approval of all consent items. Movement of any items from the consent agenda is appropriate at this time. Would anyone like to remove anything from the consent agenda? No's, all right. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve consent.
Thank you, Doug. Is there a second?
One second.
Tanya with the second. Thank you. All those in favor? of the consent agenda? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Move on to education, the school accountability report card.
You have to share your screen, by the way. You have to share your screen. Yeah.
Talk about how great the PL was.
Well, we get that set up. Could I ask you a general matter? I noticed that on all the SARC report cards, the facility grades were very, very high from top down. And to me, that says teachers and principals are noticing things and reporting them. And being our funds and taking care of it correctly. What's been your experience with the facilities? You go to all the sites.
Well, I know that we put in a big emphasis into that. Review keeps the updates in the bond and all this for the last, I don't know how long the bond's been, 5-6 years. I also know that Omar, our director of facilities, does a really spot on job and has really, they're small but mighty, his team, and they're really active, and certainly the principals aren't aren't shy about telling you when something is off and have high expectation for the sites. And I think if you go, now that I've had a chance to go around site to site, you really see that that does pay off. That our sites are gorgeous and have their things every, their little, you can see that Omar and his team and his custodians and really, there's been a lot of emphasis on this for the last, since the bond came through. So I don't even know how long,
I would just add that the things that we are aware of in the work are either in our deferred maintenance plan or they're in our facilities master plan. And there's a constant upkeep on it. So when we are doing our facilities, we can budget goals. We are looking and they are constantly looking at it.
Yeah.
That their conversations and when we notice something that we are in communication about where we need to place it. And where we need to be balancing our funds to look at.
I see your slides was up, but I just want to say it stood out to me that that's been performed very well.
Yeah.
So thank you for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's a full team effort, but really it comes from our facilities department and kind of the emphasis of the board and everybody's had for the last few years. It's paying off.
In the community for passing the ball.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it's kind of what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It all flows from that.
And our bond oversight committee that helps.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's a full team, right? And it's been a major emphasis and it is paying off. Thank you. So the school accountability report card, this is a comprehensive annual report that details our public school conditions, the performance and progress. So it's primarily focused on reviewing the data from the 23-24 academic year. It does have a brief outlook into the future where we're going. More of those plans for the future will come when the principal present the site plan. Each SARC is broken down into 4 major parts. This is the one we're reading. The 4 parts are the conditions of learning, the pupil outcomes, engagement, and then there's other information that's required for the SARC. The SARC, the School Accountability Report Card, contains extensive demographic data about the student population and school community along with vital information about school safety and facilities. So as we see, the first part contains our mission statement and it's our conditions of learning. And it talks about the school, the number of students in each grade level. This is again 23-24 data. Now I'm just going to scroll through and we get to basically our conditions of learning. In the conditions of learning, we're going to find student enrollment by grade and demographics around the student enrollment. You're going to find teacher assignments. You need your data to make sure our teachers are qualified and have access to curriculum. Then, of course, you'll find the school facilities within this one as well. So here's the 3 years of are replacing teachers in the right classrooms. And this is assignments. You see there was an assignment in 2021, we did another virtual for what you're doing. I know that staff are really tight on those this year, and we are I have to look at next year's starts and see where we're at. And this is just again class assignments. And then instructional materials, making sure everybody has a textbook, making sure they either list the board adopted material. And they're talking about the school facility. And here you'll find other things that we're working on as well. Community track with them. And we come up to pupil outcomes. Now, pupil outcomes is basically your statewide assessments. And again, it's all just inputted into our SARCs. And again, it shows year-over-year data as compared to the state. Breaks it down demographically.
Matt, are you planning to present each school?
No,
or would you
no.
like us to ask
Sorry.
questions?
You can ask questions, sure. I basically give you an overview of the SARCs at each school we read for your program.
I just want to.
Yeah. Do you have a question?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I do one about the previous section.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about how some of the teacher preparation plus placement information is gathered? I'm curious mainly about the unknown, incomplete, NA line. Like how does
Right, it's up.
so, yeah. just above total
Yeah,
teaching
that's in that
positions.
table.
Yeah, like, is that?
Second row from the bottom.
Second row. Oh, I'm sorry,
It looks like there's some small number that happened, in the year over year, but like 1.2.
Need to get, so I can see my eyes are getting old.
the SARC itself is typically put together by all the departments.
Mhm.
We, Laura puts her part in, Omar puts his part in about facilities, like calling up. I don't think it's
Okay.
on.
Oh, okay. So it has to do with, moving through their progression, so maybe they needed a waiver, or maybe they needed, there was some component to, preparing them on what kind of the position that they were in. Perhaps had not been.
Okay, so like something was in progress, so it falls into the unknown incomplete sort of.
Right. And as they were shared, we have worked extremely hard this year, and I have to give credit to our HR tag, Ariel, already, who has worked so hard on keeping all of our paperwork super relevant. Really good sheets. I'm already excited for next year.
Right, yeah, I think that would be a change in that. Right.
Other questions?
Yeah, sorry.
You have another one?
No. Okay. Yeah, I'm having this pause and just pause me. Facilities, like we talked about, everything was really good, and so people outcomes. So again, we're talking state assessments, year over year versus the state, how the state's doing.
May I ask you a question about
Yes,
this?
absolutely.
One thing that struck me is that I was confused on my part, and that I can clearly read, that, for example, this school is 2022, 81% meet above. But then the state of California doesn't report the same way. They use the same data to say something different. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes, so we're talking percentages versus points as far as we can do. So one is 78, for example, I think it's Lincoln's, 78% ELA, could be off with one. 78 of the students are at or exceeding grade level 90.
Yeah,
But
like 70.
right, yeah, but if you look at their dashboard, it says 10 points below where
Yes.
they were. So it's comparing the points to where they were last year, not the percent. So actually the percentage dropped 1%. So they were, I think they were 80 the year before, and then 78. So at the point they got 10. But it's not a 10% drop.
I see. So the same, approximately the same percentage of students that pass the test.
Yes,
Pass the
they did
test.
produce. Although it says on the dashboard, read that.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, that's what confused me.
Yeah, because sometimes you look at that and you say, well, we made 50 points above. My goodness, that's great. But
Still the same.
3 points, 3%.
Okay. And that would explain why some schools on the dashboard, so they went up or down or anything like that, even though our CAP scores were relatively, I see them as relatively stable.
Right, yes.
Before.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and their gains, yes, and now the principals will do a more thorough explanation of that when they do their SIPs, but that's generally. the case. Okay, sorry, statewide assessments, again, that's pretty much all this section is about. It's pretty thorough, breaks it down in many multiple ways. And again, it talks about the CAS, the CAS. And there's the state average.
Then I have a question.
Yes.
Much of that data in that chart table, like Vigo, is just what percent of those demographics took the exam, right? It doesn't actually
Yeah.
share the.
Yeah, this is just participating.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question? In my, sorry, you from Marla.
Welcome.
But I was looking at the data again last night.
Yeah.
And I know science is relatively newly tested, and I believe it's only 5th grade. And I saw some schools had big swings.
Right.
Can you go into that a little bit?
I think what we're working on is more of a turning the focus towards science, to say that we were focused heavily on language arts and math. And now we're turning the focus more into science, making it more aligned, using the district curriculum to more fidelity. and, making sure that it wasn't focused on as much as the others were. So you're gonna get swings on this because it's becoming naturally.
And for an elementary school, it's only fifth grade, correct? So for example, Hoover, at 25, 27 fifth graders, if 4 or 5 do different on that test, it's gonna be.
Right, that's the other piece. You're gonna see larger swings because it's less students.
And is the content tested just fifth grade or is it fourth and fifth grade?
It's K-5.
It's K-5.
Yeah.
But only the fifth graders are
And
tested.
then
You feel comfortable with the plan going forward?
I do. I've had several conversations with principals and it's in every SIPSA as a science goal. So.
Great.
And then we get into engagement, which starts out here, you hear parent involvement, there'll be absenteeism, there'll be discipline and safety. It's something that is drastically improving already in the district is our absenteeism. A lot of the work of deputy and just the focus back onto this by our principals and doing a lot of great work on that. We've already seen percentage points improvement. Suspensions. In the school safety plans. And then finally, we get to the overall, the other information about the SARC class sizing over multiple years. We talk about support staff at the sites. So how many counselors, how many psychologists, how many specialists. And then we look at the fiscal portion all the way down to how much we're paying for staff, administration on average, per pupil spending. And then professional development, which is at the very end, which what we're doing. It's a forward-facing document, meaning it's for the public to see how schools are doing. It truly is a report card. And it's one of those things though, where it's after the fact. Principals will now take this and work with their staffs and they already have plans moving to the future. So this is just a review of what happened, not what is going to.
There are other questions regarding the report card. And then I just wanted to say, I commend everyone in the district, because I know, I spoke about the facilities. I also noticed 100% PE.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Right.
That's wonderful how we're doing that. Nearly 100% credential teachers, nearly 100% CAP takers, which is challenging to be absent, not unusual for them being the principal's office taking that test. So thank you for everyone for getting that together. I understand all this, a lot of this is required by the state. Could you just briefly say how we at Burlingame use this?
Well, like I said, it's more of a forward-facing document, so it's more of a, here's how we tell what's going on in our schools to the public. So we'll be on our websites and things, but this is a great piece of thing. How are the schools in Burlingame doing? And like you're saying, they're doing very, very well. You look at what our reporting audits. So it's mostly that. The principals themselves take the data that's in there and they use it for the cycle, which is more of a working document, a document that
You have anything you want to add?
Just further, so these go for board approval. Legally, they have to be board approved before February 1st, and then they are reported up to CBE. They will be posted on our district website, and then each one will individually go on each school website. And then I also share them with their local realtors, because as people are looking to purchase homes, I like them to be able to see how wonderful our students are. And hear about some of the great things. So it's one of the documents that are forward facing as people are looking to invest in our community too.
We getting kickback from commission? All right, well, as Marla correctly said, it is a voting item. So would someone like to make a motion to approve the school accountability report card?
I have motion to approve this school accountability report cards for 2023-2024.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second? Second. Seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for everyone for taking the time.
thanks to be together.
All right, we're moving on. Item 16, business and finance.
I have to go and share that. That's the computer. That's on there. I think it's a criminal test. No, it's just airplane.
The speaker is the person from the district right now. The auditor. Okay.
We come back to this one. It's a little time.
Well, we actually approved the agenda in order.
Oh, I see.
Okay. We take a quick recess?
Yes,
Okay.
we're gonna take a 10-minute recess at this time. The time is 6:35 and we'll recess for 10 minutes.
Thank you.
The time is 6:40. Back to item number 16, business and finance. With Mr. Silversmith, we'll introduce it.
Great. Thank you for rejoining us. This weekend we have an covenant. I'll look up your last name. I'm so sorry. I always want to say it wrong. Covenant is the city of Timothy County Office of Education. And he is joining us tonight to help us review our financial audit report for the 23-24 fiscal year, which was done by Christy White, accounting firm out of San Diego.
So happy to be here. Again, I work for San Diego County Office of Education. I am not your independent auditor. But I am a former auditor. I actually used to do audits like hospitals and community colleges and other organizations. So
Our auditor.
you're actually auditors here.
So people trying to stay at the table though and help represent our field. Oh, come on over.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. Well, take a moment to set up, and please introduce yourself and take us through the report.
Someday.
You need Wi-Fi?
I most likely will.
You're sitting next to our county office CEO, just so you know. Our CEO is not able to be here tonight, so he is trying us to help.
All right, we're ready.
Thank you very much. So we are the 5 trustees of Burlingame School District on this side, Superintendent Silversmith. So if you please introduce yourself to us and take us through the report.
No, absolutely. So good evening, governing board. My name is Marcus Seamus. I am a supervisor here at Districtwide. And it's my pleasure to be here this evening for the audit report. We have conducted our audit of the district's fund, capital assets, long-term debt, compliance with federal and state laws for the year ending 2024. Our audit, just a little bit of background, because I believe this is the first year that we've been the district auditors, is comprised of 2 phases. We first have our interim phase that begins in the spring, followed by our end phase that begins in the fall. So our audit includes, but is not limited to, documenting and testing internal controls such as purchasing, cash disbursements, payroll, cash receipts, and food service. We test state compliance. We did conduct a single audit, which is the federal compliance area. And then finally, we tested all June 30th, 2024 balance sheet accounts. So I'd like to highlight the summary of audit results on page 76 or PDF page 85 if you're looking at it digitally. This page is extremely helpful as it provides all of the opinions we have issued for the district, also noting if there were any issues over internal control. There are 3 opinions in total that are issued, which includes our opinion on the financial statements, federal award, and lastly, state awards. For the year ending June 30th, 2024, we did issue an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion for all 3. However, during our testing, we did identify some material weaknesses for both the financial statements and the state awards. And for the same time, would you like me to go into the findings this year?
Yes, please, probably go over that. Thank you.
All right, so the first finding has to do with financial reporting, will be internal controls. During our substantive testing of balances reported in the district's financial statements, we noted several material errors in the financial statements that required an audit adjustment.
Can you give us a reference page number that you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah, so it's going to be on page 77.
Thank you.
So the first was the cash and counting. So GASB
one fair value adjustment recorded as of June 30th, 2023, was not properly adjusted to the fair values for June 30th, 2024. So that required an adjustment. I'm not entirely sure on the specifics for the next one, but there was an adjustment in the accrued liabilities for the cafeteria fund. Revenues and expenditures for the student activity fund, or the ASB, wasn't recorded for the year, so we did have to record an audit adjustment for that, as well as the revenue and expenditures related to STRS on behalf contributions. Our recommendation to management was to evaluate the internal control structure and consider changes as necessary that will ensure that the financial statements are free from potential misstatements and allow management or employees in the normal course of performing their assigned functions to prevent, detect, and correct misstatements on a timely basis. Any questions related to that? Moving on, their next finding had to do with the SARC, or the School Accountability Report Cards. During our testing of a representative sample of the 22-23 SARCs that were published in the 23-24 fiscal year, we found that the information reported under the school facility conditions and plan improvements section did not agree to the fit forms that were provided. Now, this one was minor. We looked at the intermediate school, Franklin, and Washington. The SARCs indicated that the facility inspections and related fit forms were completed in January of 2024. However, the fit forms that were provided and reviewed were dated for February. Question costs, there are none. There is no state funding source directly related to the SARCs. We just recommend that the district implement procedures to ensure that all information presented in the SARC is complete and reviewed prior to publishing the reviews. And the next finding had to do with the annual attendance reporting. During our testing of average daily attendance for the district, the auditor noted misstatements in the ADA reported on the annual attendance report. The reporting errors resulted in a total understatement of 0.61 ADA in the annual attendance report relating to the extended year special education. Again, there are no question costs of this error related to the annual report, as district funding is based on the ADA reported for the second principal portion. Portion.
Can I ask you a question? So I have no concept what that means in terms of like other districts you work with. Is that within the range of, there that happens?
In terms of
The 0.31.
It's so the 0.61. So it ultimately depends on the district, the size of it, and what we consider a misstatement. We usually like to, max like 0.1 or 0.2 will kind of.
We're below that.
Exactly. So anything above that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And sorry, just what does that number signify? That's the ADA for the full year?
Correct.
Okay. So if it should have been 180 or 200 and it was undercounted.
Yes,
Under the scale.
Correct.
Right.
Can I ask, it does say non-public schools. Are you referencing just our non-public school students, or are you referencing students that are in our school?
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Because it does say, it says, you reference the special education.
Mhm.
It says extended school year special education, non-public schools. Are you talking about our students that we collect their ADA that are in non-public schools? Or are you talking about my students that are in their attendance that are in my schools here?
I'm sorry, non-public, and then the ones here. I'm not sure what to call it.
Right. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm asking. Like, are they talking about my kids that might be at Achieve Kids or
Yeah, the way,
stuff like that, or?
the way I would read it is it's basically students that are attending a non-public school.
Right, so it's a very few amount of kids. Right,
Oh.
we're collecting their attendance. We're not talking about my kids that are in my seven schools that are in districts,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a follow-up question? So how does that attendance get reported to us? Is that
We
reported?
collect it from the school sites. Usually it's collected monthly.
Yeah.
We have students that are at non-public schools. So non-public schools are students that are placed through an IEP process where we can't meet their needs here. It's very few students. So that could be like one kid or something. So it's two different grade levels, so it might be two kids. So that would be something that we can point down and see what the school is and figure out the system in place. That's why I was clarifying, is it students that are in district or is it students that are outside of district?
And the next finding had to do with the new testing area for this year was the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, or ELOP. So based on our review of the ELOP instructional day requirements, we observed that the program did not meet the requirement to offer at least 9 hours of in-person expanded learning opportunities on each of the 180 instructional days during the school year. So the documentation provided to us confirmed that only 101 days were offered this year, as the program did not begin until January 8th of 2024. This one does carry a question cost of $366,732. A breakdown of the calculation of these costs can be found in the table on page 81 of the audit report. So our recommendation, we recommend the district adjust its schedule to ensure that it meets the ELLP operating requirements in order to comply with the applicable sections of the California Education Code. And then that is for all of the audit findings for this year. The last page I would like to highlight in the district audit report is the summary schedule of prior year audit findings. This begins on the last page or page 84 of the audit report. We are required to report if any findings were noted and whether they were corrected in the current year, since having the previous audit findings. There were 2 audit findings related to the child nutrition cluster for last year. And after testing the program in the current year, our firm has determined that the corrective action plans have been implemented. No further findings for the child nutrition cluster have been reported. And that concludes everything that I wanted. Question.
Thank you. Are there any questions, trustees?
This maybe not a question within the scope of the work, but, you audited and prepared, like we prepared the audit with our financial statements. Do you do any kind of, assessment of our financial health or financial statement analysis or comparison with other districts, or is that type of, perspective something that you share with us, or is that completely out of scope for?
That would be out of scope, and I mean, it's every district has its unique challenges. We can't compare this one to, let's say, very smaller rural one like Scotts Valley. I'm not entirely sure familiar with that area. So, yeah, that would be.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Then I just have one question, Mr. Venus. In preparing this audit, did you receive everything you needed? Did you receive it in a reasonably timely manner?
We did. We did, yes.
Thank you. Are there any comments? Any further questions? I see no questions. It is a voting matter. So would anyone like to move to approve the district financial audit report? Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Is there a second? Seconds. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0. Thank you both for being here. I understand we're trying to get into the library.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item 16B, also a voting item, so get your motions ready. The E-rate funding for district-wide fiber optic wide array networking.
I am bringing forward an increase for an updated Wi-Fi Burlingame service to Burlingame Intermediate School. It's gonna require a minimum aggregated bandwidth of 5 Gbps Ethernet per site for wide area network. And we're bringing forward an RFP to go out to increase that. If it goes forward, our timeline will be to issue it tomorrow and then request for information deadline by February 4th. Proposals would be due by the 13th of February. Contract would be awarded at the March 11th board meeting. We would like to have a projected start date pending funding approval, and then have an end date by September 30th of 2026 with USAC approved extensions. Any questions on that?
Yeah, we're good.
Mainly around, the timeframe around which like this expansion of bandwidth is expected to be fine, then sort of like a capacity management, like, was there any analysis done of like, we need 5, we need 10, we need 2? And how many look like?
Yeah, sorry.
Jesse.
Should I go? I'll go sit right here. Yeah, so at the moment we have 2 gigabits like per site. So how it works here, basically, we have like 10 at BIS, which is like the main data center. It feeds out to all the other sites district wide. So that's the capacity that we have for here because it's like 1,100 kids. The other sites have around 300 to 400 kids, and so they have around 2 gigabits. So as we're growing, I'm seeing like about 15 kids maybe per month, district wide, kind of increasing. So we need some, not like we, so I guess the increased bandwidth will kind of help with the increased population we have at different sites. The more devices we have on campus, the more students we have, the more like infrastructure we build, we have to have bandwidth to meet those needs. And so that's why we want to grow from 2 to 5 per site and then keep BIS at 10. Normally districts and schools typically don't go past 10 unless you're maybe LA and have like thousands of kids. So we're not a substantially big district. So 10 is a good, number to stay at BIS, and then 5 is going to be probably maxed for a while. We don't need to go beyond that for many years. So it just meets the demands of the devices and student growth we have. Basically, yeah.
And so the benefits in terms of just speed and reliability.
And that too, the speed too. I mean, we're getting around like 300 to 400, and we'll make gross, max that to meet, or maybe even a gig per, per device, which is fantastic. I mean, the speeds will be, flying through. So as more students do more complicated things with their devices, then that needs more speed. So that will allow that to kind of grow and allow that to happen. Yeah.
Is there and this is maybe not directly related to this, request particular, but in general, if a school site goes down, and especially given sort of post-pandemic, how much of the instruction is sort of based on some of these digital platforms, I would love at some point more information about like what are our backup systems, right? So that if something goes down, I know, there's information here about, sort of what the expectations are. And then
Sure.
I guess a follow-up question that I would love to get more information about at some point is, what we have in place.
Right. I can tell you now, I mean, for example, we have these devices that are very common called UPSs, and they're like a backup generator for all of our networks gear. Every site has around 3 to 4 network closets and then 1 MDF as a hub. So our data center here and it's over there in the 4th wing. They have we have multiple 4 or 5 different UPS backup devices. What I want to increase and actually get improved is just the longevity of time. We have about 3 to 4 hours, of extra time if it goes down, which is not a lot. So I guess it's looking into how can we maximize that to maybe 8 hours or something of a whole day of school, so that if it goes down, we're not waiting half a day and saying, okay, kids, that's it. We can't support that. That's a concern. So that'll be my next step as we move forward with our infrastructure from there. Yeah, it's a separate thing. It's not included, right? We're not exactly. Yeah.
We're talking about electricity goes down.
Yeah, if the power goes out, correct. Yeah, yeah. If the power goes out here at BIS, the whole network goes down district-wide because everything runs through BIS's data center and then branches out like a web to all the other sites. And so it's important to keep this one the healthiest and most updated and most current with all the infrastructure. So yeah.
Are there further questions? All right, someone like to make a motion to approve? Thank you, please. Is there a second? Seconds. Thank you. All those in favor? Motion passed 5-0. Thank you. Right, and 17, human resources, 2025, school year calendar.
Provide our SARC information to dealers, and sometimes I steal their videos and my QR codes out in our marketing to our new teachers, so there's a give and take there. So we are excited to bring our school calendar to the board in January, as I believe was a public comment of interest last board meeting, if I recall correctly. I am fairly new to HR, but I'm not new to the calendar committee, and so the vote was for the option A calendar, which is very, very similar to this year's calendar. As you can see, we also floated some options that were bringing on board the idea of considering aligning with the Butler Sanitarian Union High School District. And so we offered 2 options there, one that aligned very, very closely and had a shorter Thanksgiving February break,
and then one that was kind of in between of those two options. We did see, there's the breakdown, option A for BEA or certificated votes had a 66.8% vote. And then option A for CSEA had 17 responses, 13 of which voted for option. So, we are doing option A for
Option A is your recommendation for the board? Are there questions about the calendar? Any trustees or any comments you want to make?
Yeah, just real quick, to explain how a calendar is built, it's actually based on our collective bargaining agreements. So it's embedded within the agreement that we bring together a committee, based on CSEA, our classified union, along with our Burlingame Education Association, which is our certificated union, along with our administrative, members. They come together, they look at different options, they have conversation. And then within the bargaining agreements, there are certain things where we put minimum days, start and end dates have to be negotiated. CSEA actually gets to pick the holiday that's already off during, spring break. It has been the interest of the board to always align spring break with cemetery and high school districts, spring break. So there's certain constraints that we give the committee, and then they work around it. So then 3 options go out based on the committee's ideas to both unions, along with the administrative team. Everybody votes, and then those results come back into you all for the final approval of it. So I just want to give a little bit of background to that. We get asked often about alignment to Burlingame High. It is important to remember that we are 2 different districts. Smush gets to pick their calendars, we pick our calendar. We do align spring breaks, and it is something that we look at often is the attendance decline after the high school district gets out in May. And it's something that we talk about and we are aware of, but I just really want to explain the background as to how our calendar is built and how we bring it forward to you, with a recommendation, but it is built on our collective bargaining agreements, and data that we bring forward.
And besides parents that have a middle school and a high school kid, we also have a substantial number of employees, right? That high school age kids that go to San Antonio Union High.
That is correct. We have a large amount of employees that are not only at BHS, but within, and we also have in our inter-district transfer policy, we have reciprocity with San Mateo Union High School District employees. So they might not just be employees at BHS, they might be somewhere within the Smush district, and that's vice versa. So the Smush employees also would appreciate us aligning, I'm sure too.
A lot goes into a calendar.
Yes.
Incredible amount,
Yes.
actually.
Mhm. We
Okay.
try and get them out as soon as possible because we do know it matters for vacations.
Lots of backwards planning for this calendar. As Dr. Silversmith mentioned, we definitely are cognizant of our ADA shifts in May. But I also will say that there was a lot of talk on last year's calendar committee about looking into this closer alignment with the sanitary and high school district. So the clean of interest from multiple places. And so it's an idea we can look into a little bit more and simply the time.
You vote to approve, all your kids have to be approved. Any further comments or questions? We got a calendar. Right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the calendar? Option A of the calendar. We're going to. Nicole, move the motion. Is there a second? Seconds. All those in favor of option A for the 2025, 2026 school year? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, moving on, statement of board members. I know some of you have been very anxious for this one. We'll start with the most senior.
Not much for me, today. My son's at Red, so I've been enjoying, hearing about that, and, my daughter's happy to have him on the house. So, and enjoying BIS and, getting surveys on the new food service from her and her friends. So,
Oh, yeah.
nothing that's like statistically significant. I will report back.
I hear the pizza is very popular.
Yes,
Happy New Year, everyone. Not a lot from me either. I think as far as food services, I have gotten great reports. It's very popular. The chicken tenders were great, lots of really good feedback. So that's been wonderful. And then the other thing that I feel like I've been hearing lots about from lots of different school sites is excitement around the readathon at the end of this month for the CE and lots of, I know yard signs were delivered to lots of schools today and people are getting really excited for that at the end of this month.
I attended my first subcommittee meeting as a board member, last week. And I found it very interesting. I don't know about the rest of you, but I get a lot of questions from the community about safety plans and emails about secure sites and, all of those kinds of things. So, I'm really looking forward to working together to, improve information flow and see where, we can improve safety for the district. I was very happy to see the preparedness and, sort of like the agenda and everything that we have there, and there's going to be a lot of improvements coming from that. So, really good.
On Saturday, I attended the San Mateo County School Board Association new board member training, and that was very eye-opening, and to understand more how they are supported by the county, by San Mateo County. So that was very interesting, and got some new ideas there. And also very much enjoying not packing lunches.
I have nothing further to report. So we will move on to item 19, public statements related to non-agenda items. Are there any public statements related to non-agenda items?
No, there are not.
Okay. Item 20 is board requested items. Review what's already on file, and then I'll ask if anyone has anything new. We previously discussed, I think all this prior to our new board members' arrival, the superintendent's multi-year plan to be presented this spring, possibly in February. The multilingual learners super plan this spring, possibly in February. DLI strategic plan presentation this spring, possibly in February. The short month has been the course descriptions from BIS at a date to be determined, and cell phone restrictions. You got in just in time for that. Spring of 2025. Does anyone have any new items they would like to discuss or present to the board requested action item now? It's the appropriate time.
I have a question about, I've been hearing a lot about school site plans, both from the discussion we just had about the SARC ones and the safety committees. Does that information come to the board in one of these or in a different?
It'll come to the board in February for approval.
Oh, okay.
That's why February will.
I guess. I guess one question is, do we want all of these items in February?
Yeah, I had a meeting with Marla coming up, and we'll plan and see what get her feedback about with that. There'll be some time this spring. Yeah. We'll see. I would imagine one that we can drop off. How to get her feedback. Right, any further requests or action items? Right, then we're moving on to item 21, adjournment. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you, Doug. Is there a second?
One second.
Thank you, Tanya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. The meeting is adjourned.